All right, this is the partner activity, this next section. What you're going to do is look at page 197 with your partner. And you're going to identify 3 words that you need to know the meaning of so that you can comprehend what you read. If you know between the two of you what one of those definitions is, you may put it. Otherwise, we will work together to figure out the definitions soon. All right? You have two minutes, maybe 3 minutes, 2 minutes to find 3 words on page 197 that you are not familiar with and know the definition of. With your partner, you may begin. Go. I'll come back to you. 3, 2, 1. Okay, what color marker?
Red.
Pen or pencil?
Pencil.
Okay, thank you for your attention. Can I have a raised hand? Who would like one of their words defined? Okay, we have 1, we have 2, and we have 3. Okay, so we'll do these 3. Your job in the coming days is to figure out what the others mean, or maybe when you have some work time, you can ask. Okay, starts off, sir. What word did you want defined? Just pick one. Say it again.
Dishonorable.
All right, excellent word. We should definitely know dishonorable. All right, there's a key piece to this word called a prefix. What's the prefix, everybody?
Dis.
Dis is a prefix. Dis means?
Not.
Not. All right, so not
So
honorable.
you
Use that definition. Okay. Who's my number 2? You're my number 2. Go ahead, number 2. What's the word?
Diverse.
Diverse. Who's number 3? You were number 3.
Coin.
Coined?
Coin.
All right, where's that at so I can spell it correctly?
Second paragraph. After the paragraph.
Oh, there, it was coined?
Yeah.
All right, it was coined. The point is, boys and girls, that as you read, it is not enough just to understand what the word, how to say the words. You have to understand what they mean. So there's some help there for you. What I want you to know from here is, or to notice, and I imagine you've done this with Mr. O'Brien, is in order to navigate, in order to work through your textbook, use the features to help you. All right. In this case, our feature is the headline here. All right, the section heading, and then we have some bold paragraphs to let us know the main idea of each section. Okay. So, repeat after me. The Louisiana Purchase.
Louisiana Purchase.
I will be reading about the Louisiana Purchase.
The Louisiana Purchase.
I will be reading about
I will be reading about
how the United States
how the United States
purchased or bought
purchased or bought
Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Okay, now, this section here then gives us greater detail about Louisiana. And then apparently, there's some more detail about Louisiana Purchase that we need to understand, which is something about this noble bargain. I'll be reading about the noble bargain and the Louisiana Purchase. And then, because government is not just one person, our democracy is not just one person making the decision, there's debate about it within the government. Okay? So repeat after me, please. The Louisiana Purchase.
The Louisiana Purchase
Was a complex purchase.
was a complex purchase.
There's the idea of the land.
There's the idea of the land.
There's the idea of a bargain that I'm going to learn about.
There's an idea of a bargain.
And then in our democracy,
In our democracy,
one person can't just buy all this land.
one person can't buy all this land.
There has to be a congressional debate.
There has to be a congressional debate.
Many voices make decisions
Many voices make decisions
in the United States.
in the United States.
Okay, thank you for that work. I appreciate it. Now, I'm going to read to you some sections here because our time is a little short so that we can fill in our blanks on the worksheet. Okay? All right? So you're going to have to pay close attention because I can tell you which paragraph to focus on, and then we're going to be successful together. We're going to fill in some blanks. So, 15.2, the first little section here says, the territory west of the Mississippi was known as. So let's go find that real quick on the top of 15.2. Let me move my book. Okay, so the top of the paragraph, I'm going to read the first 2-3 sentences. America's first opportunity for expansion during the early 19th century, which is the 1800s, involved a vast territory west of the Mississippi River, then known as
Louisiana.
All right, fill in the blank. Spell Louisiana correctly, please. It's simple. For the second little point here, I'm going to keep reading that paragraph to you. You're welcome to read with me if you feel comfortable. I'm starting with the word by. By 1800, thousands of farmers were settling the land to the west of the Appalachian Mountains. To get their crops to market, they floated them down the Mississippi River to New Orleans. I added river, but that's what they mean. They then loaded the crops onto ships to board Europe, for Europe and for cities on the East Coast. So the river was important because the farmers
Used it to
use it to what?
move along freely along the river.
Move freely along the river, move their crops down the river. You take that end of the paragraph there and complete that sentence. The river was important because the farmers blank. The farmers blank. So what I'm hoping is we have the farmers. It was important to the farmers because they had the opportunity to float their crops down the river to sell it to greater markets. You could have mentioned New Orleans, you could have mentioned Europe, you could have mentioned East Coast cities, but the crops got to float down that river, and when they float down that river, what you're able to do, I'm going to zoom in on my map here. When you can float down the Mississippi River, okay, what color marker am I holding up?
Green.
When you can float down the Mississippi River, between yellow and green here, you come out at New Orleans. Once the farmers got their crops here, they can sell to South Florida, they can sell to South Texas, they can go around the panhandle of Florida, sell to the East Coast. They can sell to go down to South America, they can sell to go across to Europe. Okay? If they didn't have that river, that's a long walk. Either people looking to buy crops or them walking to the water to sell their crops so that it can be shipped elsewhere. Okay? All right. Now, I'm going to jump to that second page. Title says Louisiana. All right, let's see, it's right there. So I'm going to match my book right next to it. For those of you who don't know how to study sometimes, I got Louisiana here, I have Louisiana here, I have 2 points to fill in, I got 3 paragraphs. Okay? That's how we're going to find success with this piece. So Louisiana stretched from blank to blank, and from blank to blank. Move on if you know where to find it in this first paragraph. Otherwise, listen to me as I read. This immense region stretched from Canada to Texas, and from the Mississippi to the Rocky Mountains. Look at you all go. Nicely done. Now, for those of you who are waiting, you don't have to wait. Keep going if you want. You figured out the pattern. The pattern is to match paragraphs to blanks. You do not have to wait for me. When they say, I'm going to talk for this minute as you write. When the book says the Mississippi, they're talking about the Mississippi River to the Rocky Mountains. And if you look on our map, you have the Mississippi River, which is the right side of the yellow, the Rocky Mountains over here near the orange, south to Texas, north to Canada. There's your boundaries. Okay? I'm going to do one more, and then we got to wrap up. A noble bargain. Now, I need everybody's attention, so I need you to take a break, because I need to teach you this content. What color marker?
Red.
Color marker?
Green.
Okay, now, we have Napoleon, who is the French ruler. Okay? We have Jefferson, who's the United States ruler, otherwise known as our president. Okay? Not quite ruler in the same way. Now, in history, what was happening at that time was French-British relationships, pretty tense. We're thinking we're going to go to war. Guess what? Okay? We get the whole territory for some money. Jefferson's like, no, dude, really? Like, yeah, not just a little city, we get the whole territory. You know, Thomas Jefferson's like, excuse me, Mr. Masson. Yeah! That's a great job. I really appreciate how you went to Napoleon and worked that all out. Okay? So everybody's pumped up. But what do we say about the government? Can one person in the United States government make a decision?
No.
No. So it goes to this democratic debate that you can read about when there's more time, because my time is coming up short right now. Okay? So what I want you to do is fill this out with me. So one reason this noble bargain existed. So one reason the French sold all of Louisiana instead of just, what city was it called?
New Orleans.
Thank you for your listening. New Orleans was that Napoleon thought he needed the money for, what could he use the money for? You all fill that one out. Or possibly war. And by the way, I skipped a little section up here. You can fill that one out too. Alright? So I'll give you 2 minutes to figure that out. The French ruler blank. What's the French ruler's name?
Napoleon.
Yeah, so he goes up here. Okay? He wanted to... There were plans Napoleon had originally that I didn't tell you about. That's in this Louisiana paragraph, according to the sheet. Let me move this down. Sorry. So Napoleon's original plans are found in the Louisiana section here. The part about war comes down with the noble bargain section that I just talked about. And then the idea for this worksheet, and this is more for Mr. O'Brien as he creates things in the future, is now that they have practice, they're going to find their own key points or notes from the section on their own. Okay. I want to thank you for your attention. I want to thank you for your participation. I want to thank you for talking with one another and for trying this work. Okay? For some of you, piece of cake. Man, you kind of gave it to us. All I got to do is fill the blanks. For some of you, whoo, thank goodness you gave me the blanks, because this is hard reading for me. All right? And then there's people in between those two experiences. So thank you for your work. Now, I want to go back to our objectives and our standards here for a minute. Okay, I'm going to ask you to talk to your partner about something real quick. Now remember that our work for the standard was to describe the landscapes, to describe some political work, to describe how things expanded during the first 4 presidencies. We're talking about Jefferson's presidency in this case. Describe the purpose, challenges, incentives for westward expansions and manifest destiny. So that's what we're trying to describe. So what I want you to do is to describe to your partner any parts of this that you know more about now. So you can say to report about or to describe, you can say something along the lines of, I now know that westward expansion means that the United States, blah, 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 blah. I now know, or I describe manifest destiny as blah, 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 blah. All right? So door partners, you're going to start by describing something you now know about what we've learned to your partner. And then when that partner's done, window partners, you describe something you've learned. Okay. So thank you for your conversation. Some of you did that very easily. Some of you are still fumbling over your words. That's okay. You just need practice. Now, we did not finish the 3 sections or the 2 sections. So I will leave this up to Mr. O'Brien. I don't know how homework works in this classroom. But here's an example of homework. You're either going to answer questions 1 and 3 or questions 2 and 3. If you have time, answer all 3. It doesn't matter. But you're going to answer 2 of them.